Good afternoon folks, welcome to Visordown and welcome to the launch of Kawasaki's new Ninja 1100 SX. Good afternoon folks, back here in Manresa, which is basically my second home. We have done about 170 Ks today riding this, which is the top spec SE variant of the bike. We got on the bikes at 9 o'clock, we got off the bikes at about 4 o'clock, and it's been an absolute blast, as you would expect from riding a bike like this. What I'm going to do right now, I'm going to go through the bike, I'm going to tell you a few of the things that are new about it, and then I'm going to go into all the tech specs and what I thought about the engine, the chassis, the comfort, and all the rest of the good stuff that you need to know. So starting with the engine, that's the big news story. Kawasaki have upgraded their inline 4-cylinder power plant in their touring models, so the Versys and the Ninja 1000 have got a new 1199cc engine. It's gone up from 1034cc. It's still a double overhead cam 16 valve, and it's basically been stroked out. So you've got 3mm longer stroke, but the bore remains the same, 77mm bore on that one. In the Ninja, it's putting out 134 bhp at 9,000 rpm, which is slightly down on 140 bhp that was claimed from the old model. So the Versys took a big jump up in power, went from 120 to 134. The Ninja's come down slightly. The peak torque is 83 pound-foot at 7,600 rpm. And the curb weight of the SE variant, which is the one here, is 234 kilograms ready to ride. We've got an 835mm seat height, and we've got 1440mm wheelbase, and you've got a lovely 19-litre fuel tank to cosset your legs around as you are clinging onto the beast. Apart from the engine, really, the other new bits that we've got on the SE specifically, so these aren't on the stock Ninja 1000 SX, these are just the SE. We have got Brembo M4 calipers and 300mm discs at the front, and we've got an Ohlins shock absorber with a remote preload adjuster that you can see tucked up the right hand side of the bike there. This thing rolls on Bridgestone S23 tyres, and heated grips on the SE variant of the SX are standard. So this bike is 13,999. You can still get the stock Ninja 1100 SX, and that is £12,249, which basically just gets the upgraded engine. You don't get the Ohlins, you don't get the Brembos, and that is, Kawasaki's PR person over in the UK tells me, only £100 more than the outgoing Ninja 1000. So you've got 3 packs that are coming to the UK, 3 accessory packs. You've got Sport Pack, Touring Pack, and a Sport Touring Pack. Basically, that's it. That's all you need to know. So I'm going to tell you a bit about what we've done today. So we've been riding some deliciously good twisties up here in Manresa in Spain, about 90 clicks north of Barcelona. It's been a ball. Basically, this is a big bike for Kawasaki. They've got to get it right. The SX variant of the Ninja 1000 has been the best seller for them since it came into their big bike range. And it is, you know, it was for a long time really the only bike in that sort of little niche of proper sporty touring bikes that are out there. And as everything else has gone towards long-legged sport touring adventure bikes, Tracer 900, you know, the Tiger Sport 800s and stuff like that, Kawasaki have stuck to their guns with this model, and they have just continued on and evolved the bike into what it is today. I'm going to start talking about the engine because it's kind of the biggest technical update of this model. So you have got less power than the outgoing bike, but it is only 4 bhp, and you would need to be a MotoGP level rider really to put your finger on where those horses have gone, because you don't actually notice it. What has happened is that the mid-range torque of the bike has really been bolstered. It was never really lacking in mid-range torque or mid-range grunt. It had a lovely silky smooth delivery, and roll-on overtakes in second and third gear were absolutely deliciously good. But they have given it more grunt, which makes it a bit more usable on the road. Really, we looked at some power graphs last night in the presentation, and the only place that this is lacking compared to the old Ninja 1000 is right at the very, very top end. Somebody's just doing a donut on the car park behind me. Sorry about that, hooligans. Really at the very, very top end, in the area that you don't ever really venture when you're riding on the road. It's only a place where you go on track. And this is a road sport touring bike. So they've really looked at where riders use the torque and use the power, and they've bolstered it in that area. It isn't quite as transformative, the engine, in this bike as it was in the Versys 1100, because the Versys 1100 gained the mid-range and it gained top end. and because of the size of the bike and the gearing of the bike, it was much more evident that the engine had changed, but it is still nice to have that extra oomph there. I mean, the last time that I rode a Ninja 1000, it was on the launch in 2020. We were in Cordoba, in sort of the centre of Spain. Did I get off that bike and think this thing needs more grunt, it needs more torque, it needs an extra 40 cc's or whatever it is to make it a bit of a better bike? No, it doesn't. It didn't really. It never really did. What this is more of an act of Kawasaki future-proofing the bike against further emissions regulations that are undoubtedly going to come in, saying keep the same sort of power output, torque output, but with an increased capacity, and make the thing a little bit cleaner. Continuing on with the engine, we've obviously got electronically controlled throttle, which means you've got some riding modes to play with in the TFT. The throttle connection is very, very nice. I absolutely love the throttle connection of the bike. It feels like a cable actuated throttle, which is really nice. Sometimes they feel a bit glitchy and a little bit clunky, but that isn't the case with this one whatsoever. Every time you dial into the throttle, you know exactly what you're going to be getting out of it. The quick shift on the bike as well is the new and improved one, which we also saw on the Versys 1100, and just like on the Versys 1100, it is a lot better than it was before. Kawasaki say that it will shift from sort of really low in the rev range around the 1500, 2000 RPM mark, and from riding the thing around towns and villages as we're passing through them, I can say that it does do that very smoothly, matches the revs nicely, and works when you're up at speed as well, which is great. Going to get on to the next point, which is the thing that I've been enjoying the most about this bike today, which is the handling, because we have been riding some biblically good twisty roads. It's been very, very good. It's no wonder that Spain has got so many world champions. When you ride the roads that these kids grew up riding, you really start to see why. This thing always was, and it still is, such a confidence-inspiring bike to ride. The Ohlins rear shock feels like the best place that Kawasaki have spent the money. The front forks, the KYB adjustable forks, are absolutely more than up to the job, but I find it easier to spot a rear shock that can't handle the pace or the weight of a bike much more than I can the forks. And with the Ohlins rear shock on there, with the remote preload adjuster, it's a very plush and very comfortable ride. It's almost like you sort of, on a lot of bikes of this sort of size and weight, you grit your teeth as you come up to a pothole or a bump or a speed bump, as you're sort of bracing yourself for the impact, but you don't find yourself doing that with that Ohlins rear end. It's an ever so plush setup and very nice to use. The Brembo brakes, they're M4 calipers, they're obviously very good. They're mated to a Nissin master cylinder, which might seem like a bit of a mismatch to start with. Why not go for a Brembo master cylinder? But I think it is all down to a cost point, and to be honest with you, yes, it's got a slightly spongier feel than you get with a Brembo master cylinder, but it's span adjustable, and it's got, you know, there's all the power that you need there. It's a good enough setup for the bike. Did it need an upgrade to the front brakes? I don't know. The Nissin calipers that are fitted to the stock Ninja 1100 SX that you can go out and buy are Kawasaki branded, but they are built by Nissin. They're more than powerful enough. I think it's more just about giving the SX model, sorry, the SE model of the SX a little bit more of a premium feel and a little bit more kudos than the stocker. Overall though, the handling of the bike is absolutely brilliant. Because of the weight of the bike, we're talking 234 kilograms ready to ride. When you get it into a fast corner and the surface isn't perfect, it feels super planted and super composed in a way that you don't really get with a standard 1000cc super sports bike. It just tracks and goes, and to cliche it up to the maximum, it does handle like it's on rails. It's got Bridgestone S23s fitted as standard. Now, they're not going to be the same Bridgestone S23s that you can buy off the shelf. They're going to be a slightly lower spec, but actually today, in the morning, it was very cold and they were a little bit nervous. Once the temperature got up and they got warmed up, they were absolutely perfect. So I didn't have any problems with those whatsoever. Whether or not they're going to perform quite so well on a dark and dank Sunday in Dagenham when you're commuting home from work, that remains to be seen. But overall, it is exactly what you expect with this. Sumptuous to ride, lovely plush suspension, and just goes exactly where you want it to go, and hides all of those 234 kilograms very well. Another thing that's very important to the Ninja 1100 is the comfort. And unlike an adventure bike where you've got most of your weight going straight down your spine into the seat because you're canted forwards a bit more in a more sports bike-ish riding position, your body weight is shared across your legs, your backside and your arms, which for me, I find a lot more comfortable. It stops me getting any aches and pains in my lower back. Another thing that Kawasaki have done, and you don't really see this, and they didn't make a lot of noise about it, but there's lots of little balance weights sort of hidden around the bike, and the bar ends have been made heavier. There's also a little balance weight tucked down here that's kind of rubber mounted as well, and that's just been done to try and take out any extra vibration that you might have got when you were cruising at motorway speeds. In all honesty, I never really noticed any vibration from the old bike. You'd have to be really, really picking nits to find any, but yeah, it's super smooth, and in a bike like this, the inline 4-cylinder power plant, Japanese made, they make the best inline 4-cylinder engines you can go out and buy. It just makes so much sense. So I'm going to chip onto the verdict because it is getting very dark here. If adventure bike riders, most adventure bike riders, were completely honest with themselves in how they use their adventure bikes, something like this is probably a much more sensible option than a big heavy 1000cc plus Tiger 1200 or GS or anything else like that, because most adventure riders, they do ride on the road a lot more than they go off-road. And if you're looking for on-road composure and handling and compliancy and comfort, but still with the distance, still with room for two, still with luggage options, something like this makes a lot more sense. There is a bit of a caveat to this particular bike though, in terms of the Ninja 1100 SX SE. Did Kawasaki absolutely spend their development budget in all of the right places? And that's something that I've been asking myself as we've been riding along. Yes, we've got an upgrade with the Ohlins rear shock, we've got an upgrade with the Brembos, yes, we've got the new engine. That's all fabulous, but when you look at the Versys 1100 SE, you get the electronically adjusted semi-active suspension, which is a very, very good system. Did it need the Brembo front brakes? I don't know. Did it need the Ohlins rear shock if you've slotted in some electronic suspension? I'm not so sure. It's all down to what the consumer wants. Kawasaki is saying that they didn't do this because it would have pushed the price up too high, but I'm not sure. I think there might be even a level above the SX SE where you get an SX SE Plus, which has got the semi-active electronically adjusted suspension. That might be the one that I would like to see getting introduced. Whether or not it will though, who knows. So to sum the bike up really, it is fast enough for all types of riders, silky smooth to ride, eminently comfortable. I think it's good value for money for what it is as well. There are a lot of bikes that do exactly the same thing as this that cost a lot more money. It looks great, it goes great, and it sounds fantastic. If you like the look of it, they are going to be in dealerships in December 2024. It's also going to be on the Kawasaki stand at Motorcycle Live. If you're down there, get yourself down there and check the thing out. Other than that, it is getting dark, getting late, getting cold, and I need to go and get some tea. So I'm going to sign off there. If you like that one, folks, please don't forget to hit like and subscribe so you can stay up to date with all of Visordown's latest videos. And for the latest news, reviews, and motorcycle features, get yourself over to Visordown.com.